Over the years, I've obtained a lot of D&D books, and yes, I'll openly admit that I'm a bit of a collectionist. However, I'm aware that getting every single D&D book in the world is a tad bit of an overkill, and would probably result, or will result, in a lot of poor and bad D&D books. So I thought to myself the other day that I should review these, but I didn't know how. Until I remembered that GMs and DMs rely on random tables to decide their entire life. So I went through my book of random tables specifically designed to help me in everyday life, to aid me in selecting a book or provide some inspiration on how to do this. The result was that I should start in the middle and work my way out. I hated this. So remembering that I have free will, I made the executive decision to take matters into my own hands and re-roll on the table. It said that I should number the books and roll a D100 to determine which book to review. The first in this series is book number 36. The Game Master's Book to Legendary Dragons. Firstly, I really like the design of these books. I really like the blueprint-esque shapes that are around the cover, and I like this little picture here. It makes me feel like I've stumbled into a forbidden lich's cave and I've stumbled upon some secret knowledge. This is a little portal into another realm and it's staring back at me. And in this case, it's absolutely terrifying because I don't want to mess with the dragon in real life. Most of the books in this series, with the exception of like 2, I think, are hardback as well, which is always a bonus in my eyes. However, I do need to have a word with the publishing company if you're listening. You guys seem to want to change my bookshelf into a bar chart, which, as much as I would probably appreciate it in another context, please stop. Make them just the same height. Please. Inside, the book holds 3 one-shot adventures suitable for various levels of play: kobolds, drakes, dragonants, and some other custom creatures from the realm of dragons, the Dragon Rider class, the Draken race, draconic spells, and more. There's a cool foreword from Gary Gygax's son, Luke Gygax, and in there he talks about how dragons grew in popularity thanks to Tolkien and C.S. Lewis and other fantasy authors. And he also talks about his dad's own D&D adventures and how that having a dragon was this big, prestigious thing, and having dominion over such a beast was like an incredible feat. Like how people think that owning a Tesla is, or was. Also, I had no idea that GaryCon was a thing, and I'm super interested. Is it a convention for Garys, or is it a convention for like Gary Gygax's work? And I think it's probably the former, because of the context of this book. Inside we also get this really cool quote: "Come not between the dragon and his wrath," by some guy called William Shakespeare. Whoever that guy is, he stole my name, so I have to hate him by default. One major thing this book proposes to you, and I think has done successfully, is make each dragon feel unique and provide tactics and backstory and more information for the dragon, as well as make their stat blocks fit the backstory that you've already read. This point's actually pretty good because I tend to not run dragons as much as I probably should, and if I have run them in the past, they're never as quick-witted or clever or as dangerous as they should feel, because dragons are exactly that. They are a brutal, witty, clever, cunning force of nature that your PC should probably only want to attack if they have the real cojones. When I first got this book, I was really impressed with the artwork, and I think I can speak for a lot of people when I say artwork in these kind of books can really make or break it. If I open the book and I see an AI-generated dragon eating an AI-generated image of Will Smith eating AI-generated spaghetti, we're going to have a problem, buddy. But the artwork in this book is genuinely really good. I'm not going to go through every single dragon in this book because that would take ages. So I'm going to use the first one that is mentioned in here as an example. So everyone, please welcome to the video Anoth Zul. Yeah, Anoth Zul, everyone. Anoth Zul. So reading the background information straight up, it's just awesome. There's this whole idea of it being... There's a whole idea of this dragon being essentially put into a perpetual sleep and some evil person crafting away its heart and then putting the heart piece into 2 different vials, which means it in theory cannot die unless those 2 jars are dealt with. So if you think about it adventure-wise, you start with the city being attacked, the dragon can't die, or the dragon does die but comes back the following day. There's this big lore dump about the 2 hearts, the players have to go find the 2 hearts, there's this big climactic battle, the city is saved, and joy to the world. Although there was something written in there about... oddly specific. Instead of it being the traditional 100 years as a perpetual sleep the dragon was left in, it was specifically 101 years. And I really like the idea that this was just a minor mistake on the evil person's part.
At long last, it's finally complete. Anoth Zul shall awake in 100 years, and everything shall be in its place. Yes.
Boss, are you sure that says 100?
What? No, that's clearly 100 in arcane numericals. What do you want about?
I don't know, it looks like it says 101, see?
Look, no. Let me take a look. Let me have a look. Take this fucking candle.
Thank you.
Have a look at it. There's one. Carry this. Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, cocking hell. Well, you're going to have to take the blame and get on the sending stone, call everybody.
Wait a minute, why do I have to take the blame for this?
If you don't take the blame for this, I'll make you stare at my forbidden knowledge.
Okay, alright. I don't want to look at no forbidden text, alright? So,
Yeah,
I guess I'll take the blame.
get onto them. Ain't got time for this shit. This cream is burning my eyebrows.
Damn. The guys are going to hate me after this. Bob, you still got that sending stone? No, it's not another personal call. It's for business. Each dragon also presents you with some kind of story hook, as well as picking up the lore and telling you how to potentially use it. In the example of Anafsul, the tactics that are given aren't particularly crazy, but they do suggest, what abilities to use first, who to target, whether you should make a tail attack, a claw attack, and XYZ. And the pages also provide insight into treasure. Anafsul in particular doesn't have any on their person per se, but there's no excuse for there's no reason why you as a DM couldn't decide that there is some treasure on a cultist, or she has the ability to provide the location of some treasure. There's also some mechanics and effects on how the dual heart system works. Well, you wanted me to detail those to you now. Now this time, buddy, now the moment you've all been waiting for. Stat blocks. In Anafsul's example, although it's quite a weighty stat block, all elements make sense to what we've read already in the background and tactics, etc. And it's a nice change to see this kind of level on a dragon stat block compared to what we've seen in the traditional monster manuals or in Fizban's. In Anafsul's example, there are areas where they can buff the cultists if you choose to have them on the battlefield with Anafsul. Details about the death of the dragon and conditions about the dual hearts. There's got your classics as well: Frightful Presence, Claw attacks, Tail attack, Breath weapon, yada yada. However, this breath weapon in particular is necrotic damage, and although can't kill a player, if they do fail the save, their HP max is reduced by the damage taken, which could be really bad. And it's important to note, of course, this is a book about dragons, so they're all going to have Frightful Presence, they're all going to have breath weapons, they're all going to have claw and tail attacks, at least the majority of them were. But these guys in here, in this book, they have paid DLC, paid to win add-ons. These guys are like steps above the dragons, the red and blue dragons that we're used to in other books. And before we move on, I'd like to drop some honourable mentions towards Anafsul as well. There is Fury, Dragon Queen of Hell, who can charm your party and potentially turn them into lemurs. There's also Glitz, the Rapscallion, who's a chaotic good dragon who owns a brewery. And then there's Ilizini the Heart Eater, got there eventually, who basically is like the Daredevil of the dragon world, except if Daredevil was a big effing female dragon. But we are going to move on to the class, the Dragon Rider class. Dragon Rider is similar to the Battlemaster in a way. It has maneuvers and maneuver points, not superiority dice, completely different things. Genuinely though, there is a lot to play with in this class. I mean, for example, you get to pick your subclass at first level, and that allows you to telepathically communicate with your dragon within 1 mile. The rest of the class is also pretty cool. Each time you take a level in it, you gain some more maneuver points, and these can be, yep, you guessed it, used to invest in cryptocurrency. I'm just kidding. They're used to perform special maneuvers like the coordinated flank, which is a bonus action while you and your mount are within 5 feet of the same creature. All your attacks have advantage until your next turn. You can also take the dodge action as a bonus action by expending maneuver points through evasive maneuvers. That's the maneuver. It's called evasive maneuvers. The evasive maneuver. And there's also one in the later down the line tiers called ravaging. You can ravage a creature. Should they fail against your companion's save DC, you deal an extra 10d6 damage to them. Yeah. Pretty nuts. And then later down the line you get things called signature maneuvers, which allow you to use a particular maneuver without expending any points, and you can do this with the tier 4 ravaging. So in theory you could use your freebie of that, which is 10d6, and then try and ravage them again for another 10d6 to equal 20d6 damage across like 2 different turns, but still pretty nuts. And I mentioned there were, I don't know if I mentioned or not, but there are some subclasses as well, so I'll quickly dive into those real quick. There's the Dragon Knight and the Dragon Outrider, each with their own specializations. The Dragon Knight is all about being a fighter, not literally the fighter class, but being a sort of a frontline fighter with your mount. You get proficiency in heavy armor, you get a minor health bump each time you take a level in the Dragon Rider class, and you get things like an increased strength for constitution cap, so it goes from 20 to 22 on your abilities. And your final ability for that subclass is an ability that gives you resistance to all types of damage and buffs your weapon by an additional hit dice. A feature that is low-key scary because it can be used every short rest. And the Dragon Outrider has something similar to this, except theirs is only the speed is doubled and they can take an extra attack action per attack action, or take an extra attack per attack action. There we go, that's the one. And this is restored every long rest. In a similar way, though, the Dragon Outrider also gets things like dash as a bonus action, advantage on stealth checks when you're mounted on your mount, and their dex and wisdom cap increases from 20 to 22. Again, all pretty good stuff. Very similar on the surface, but different for builds, different builds. Nice. Your Dragon Companion also gets a couple of buffs each time you level up in this class. You get classics like Dark Vision all the way to Advanced Dark Vision. I'm kidding, you get some other stuff. Your fly speed increases, your mount's AC increases, breath weapon increases and more, and does not forget Advanced Dark Vision. Overall, the class itself has a lot of variety. You could go for the Infiltrator kind of guy who's like dexterous on his mount, looking all scary and edgy, or you could go for the frontline fighter. Either way, I can definitely see myself living out my Eragon fantasy with this class, for sure. Onto the Draconic race, it's called a Draken. I like the idea behind this race. If your setting or world has a strong Draconic or Dragon presence, then the whole idea that this presence can manifest in some ways in mutation while a child is in the womb, or later down in someone's life, is pretty cool. This race does get a breath weapon, however it's not quite as powerful as the Dragonborns. It's 2d6 for starting damage and goes up to like 5d6 in total, which compared to the Dragonborns is 1d10, ending at 4d10 max damage. There are mutation tables, there are actually 4 of them, and by choosing the Draken race, you sort of have by default to roll on these tables. The way to do so is a little bit convoluted in my opinion. You have to roll a d4 to see how many mutations you get, and then roll the d100 or percentile dice to decide what table you're choosing. I kind of feel like it should have been d4 to choose and then a d4 to see which table, but I don't know, maybe it works better that way. The table 1 is purely cosmetic. You can get anything from ashen coloured skin, maybe a dragon's tail, or my personal favourite, head. The second table is based around abilities, some allowing advantage on charisma checks, maybe twice per long rest. Table 3 is abilities again, but this time there are some drawbacks. It could be anything from having your strength buffed up by 2 and your intelligence lowered by 1. And table 4 is purely drawbacks only. I think this is fun. I think it's like in a weird way like a twist on the magic, the Wild Magic Surge table stuff, but it's just your body constantly changing to the mutation. You do have to re-roll on these. You roll mutations on 4th. Yeah, you roll mutations again on the 4th level, 8th level, 12th level, 16th level, and 20th level. So you could end up with a lot of bonuses and abilities or a couple of drawbacks. Moving on to Dragon Cults. Another part of this book looks at cults, specifically as I just said, dragon cults, because it's a book about dragons. Similar to the dragons themselves, each cult has a hierarchy, or suggests what kind of like racial beings will be in said cult. Maybe it's like, for example, the first one is half-orcs, orcs and humans. It gives you an idea around recruitment methods, their mission, their end goal, and although there are 2, each do come with adventure hooks and also give you enough information to sort of springboard yourself to create others if you want to. I think 2 is a good amount to have in this book. Dragon hunting. I'm going to keep this short because why would you want to hunt a dragon? Oh, it's evil and it's hunting purely because it wants treasure. Yeah, I feel like your reasons are justified. Your PCs can become dragon hunters in this book, which is kind of cool. They get a couple of benefits, like advantage on against frightful presence, advantage on a couple of breath weapon attacks as well, which is all very cool, pretty good. And there's also bits on how to like disassemble a dragon and the dragon parts, how much they're worth, the DC to extract said part from a dragon, with repercussions should the DC fail. Again, all of it's very good to have if you're in a heavy dragon setting. The parts that are extracted from a dragon can also be used to enhance certain spells. For example, Bless and Bane. If you have a particular part, Bane can be cast upon another creature as well as the one you were targeting originally. And if you have a certain part for Bless, the dice goes from 1d4 to 1d6. And this also has effects on other higher level spells. For example, Gate. If you have a certain part for that, you can cast Gate without having to hold concentration, which is pretty good. Magic items in this book are also pretty good. They fit with the whole theme of dragons. They're all dragon-based. Most of them are sort of targeting around reducing breath weapon attacks or providing a full set of tools for dismembering dragons. Similar to the DMG, it has a bunch of tables with properties that you could use to make your own draconic items. They are mainly focused around an item called the Morning Star of Milady, but I think you could definitely use that table to just craft your own stuff. Aerial combat. This bamboozled me. This section of the book really... I still don't think I've actually got it. And I think mostly this is down to the layout of this section of the book. So I'm going to read you the steps that I've taken and the notes I've got from it. And if that's incorrect, I'm sorry. And if anybody has read this book and knows how to use aerial combat, if you could list it in the comments below, I'd really appreciate that, because I haven't got a bloody clue how this works. First, I'm not really sure if that actually helped anybody or even helped me by reading it back to myself. One part I did like, however, about it was that the ship-to-ship engagements, so like, you know, ship-to-ship engagements, you know that, don't you? Can be quite risky for both the players and the crew. The PCs in this instance count as crew members, and if the skeleton crew number, like let's say the minimum you need to run the ship is 6, if there are less than 6 people left on the ship, the crew to operate the ship, then the ship cannot operate. It just becomes inoperable. And there are quite a few ways in this aerial combat method where the ship can become inoperable, which I like and I also dislike. I like it because it keeps tensions high, I like it because it feels dangerous, and I like it because there's lots of moving parts, which in theory should mean more active players on the field. They're not just standing still, hitting a creature over and over again. There is a lot of movement there, a lot of sort of like, oh, I'm going to move here to fix this thing, I'll move here to chop this grappling hook off, to drop a guy 10,000 feet to the ground. Reasons I dislike: if party members don't play objectively during these tense moments, the ship could come to a standstill, and from what I understand, just a hovering ship is a dead ship. Overall, I think the instructions could have been a little bit clearer, and I would have really appreciated an example of play, just because that's how I learn. But I don't think that's a massive dislike for this particular section. I just think that's how it could have been slightly better, is having an example of play. The one-shots in this book look great, look fine. I don't tend to run pre-written adventures, but they all look pretty succinct and simple. Information's very clear, there's some battle maps in there for references as well. I don't know if it would count as a one-shot, it depends how long you've got. I could definitely see the one-shots in this book bleeding over into the second session or whatnot, but all of them look really good, very easy to run. So finally, my conclusion ranking. Earlier I couldn't think of anything on how to do this ranking, but I think I've finally come to it, and that's to use D&D's own currency. Platinum being the very top position, like this is a supreme book, you need to get this because it gives you so much. Gold being like, this is still fantastic, but not quite at the platinum level. Silver being like, yeah, pretty good. Copper being like, it's on teetering on the lower end. And yes, I said on the lower end because there is a 4th section below copper, and that is the dog shit section. Yep, I said that. There is a lower status than copper, and that's the elusive, secretive currency of dog shit. The currency only used by thieves guilds. Wait, you don't use dog shit in your world? Overall, I probably put this book right here, this book here, this one. I probably put this on at the rank of gold. I think there's a lot of information in here that could really be thrust into your current world, or could easily be used for a campaign to focus specifically on dragons. There are new mechanics, there's a new class, there are 3 adventures, a list of different dragons with amazing art and a buttload of information to inspire you. Plus, the book is made on high quality paper and is a hardback book, which is always a bonus in my book. In my eyes. Oh, and in case you're wondering, the book sits at this point on my shelf on my bar chart, which is fine. And this was number book 36.